Hey, Alexander. Can you hear me? I had to figure out how to do this again because it's been such a while. I wanted to make sure everything was set up, and then I woke up late, so I was kind of in a rush trying to get everything put together again. See if anybody else joins today. I know it was last minute. I just had an idea of maybe first video back I do a live video, talk about our trip a little bit. I do have a video that's done, but it is a sponsored video this time, so I had to get clearance from the sponsor before I release the video. So Barcelona. I was just outside Barcelona once. I stayed for 6 weeks in Spain as a foreign exchange student in high school, and the family I lived with, their friends had a beach house that was on the east coast, just outside of Barcelona. I don't remember. It was either Costa del Mar or Costa del Sol. One of those. But really love Spain. I gotta go back. Hey, Fabian. Greetings from Germany. Boy, I miss Germany so much. It was such an awesome time. I never want to get on that plane to come back to the US, that's for sure. Every time I visit, I just think, why can't I just stay here? Why can't I miss my plane and just hang out? Costa Brava? That might have been it. This was high school we're talking about, so early 90s. It's been a while. But the town my family lived in was Zaragoza, or Zaragoza, I guess that's how you pronounce it. So it was a good time. I really enjoyed Spain. Really enjoyed Germany and Switzerland as well. That was the first time I ever made it to Switzerland. My wife, obviously being German and growing up there, her and her family took a lot of trips. So she had been there, but when she was really young, so she didn't remember much. So it was nice for us to get back. And Switzerland's landscape is something else. Those Alps, you know, you can't get a true sense of how big some of those peaks are. You know, it's like going to the Grand Canyon here. You know it's big. You know that it goes down a long ways, but standing there, you can't get a sense of just how big it is because there's nothing to judge the scale off of. You know, you can't put a person way down there, but those peaks are just I knew they were tall when they had, you know, glaciers on them, but it was something else. When am I moving for real? I wish I knew. Sooner rather than later, I hope. You know, we have to get our affairs in order here, make sure the boys are okay, you know, set with life, if they want to move with us, if they don't want to move with us, what they're going to do. I need to really focus on my German language skills, because I feel like it would give me a better opportunity if I needed to find work over there. I wouldn't rely on just speaking English, but I'm actively looking. I am definitely actively looking for anything to get us over there. But I'm thinking hopefully within the next year, maybe two. Hopefully it doesn't take that long, but definitely not waiting another 9 years before I go visit. It's been 9 years since I was over there. Hey, Boston. Yeah, I never made it. And Justin. Hey, Justin from Austria. I never made it on a train in Switzerland. We got there early evening, late afternoon on the first day. Made sure we got our hotel or our bed and breakfast little room, and then basically just walked around Grindelwald right there. And then we had the next day as a full day, and that's when we went up the gondola up to First. So the last, station at the top of the mountain, and hiked up to the glacier lake behind there. And that day it was, of course, it always happens. You arrive and it's perfect weather. There's a few clouds, it's sunny, it's warm. Then the full day you're there, it's cloudy, it's gloomy, it's rainy. And then the day you leave, it's sunny, it's nice and warm again. But it never really rained. The clouds were just so low that you got that moisture from the clouds, and being up on top of the mountain, it was a little windy, so we got a little wet, but we wore hoodies and never got cold and never really got too hot either. So it was okay. I told my wife actually that I kind of liked that because we got a true sense of the weather in the Alps, where it's one day it could just turn on you and be cold. So we didn't get to do as much as I wanted, but we can always go back. No problem, Alex. Just don't get in trouble at work. That's good, boss. And I understand um, a bit, but it's kind of funny because sitting there with her family, and Germans, at least her family, I'm not going to speak for all Germans because I don't know, but they tend to talk over each other a lot. So one person's talking, then another person will talk, and then somebody else chimes in, and nobody stops. So they're all speaking. So it's hard for me to pick up. I had to focus on individual people when they would speak before I could really understand. And they talk so fast. And of course, then you get the slang in there. I think what my wife called it's Pfalzisch, because she's from Rhineland-Pfalz, so they have their own slang. So I could pick up on, oh, okay, that I know that word, but they aren't saying it the way I was taught how to say it. But when my sister-in-law actually spoke to me one day, and she was looking at me, and she wasn't speaking like obnoxiously slow, but she spoke German and was looking at me and spoke at a normal pace. I understood everything she said. So it's just catching things as everybody's talking at once, and then it gets a little overwhelming. So I need to practice a little bit more. My wife and I text a lot in German, so that helps. And I need to just force myself to speak it and have my wife speak it to me, so I know I'd pick it up pretty quick, because I did know a lot more when I lived over there. Obviously, I was around it all the time, so I understood a lot more, but I really need to practice. Aachen. Fabian, you live near Aachen. I know that of that place, near the Netherlands and Belgium, so kind of the northwest. I probably have driven by it or through it, maybe. We took a trip. At one point, we went and picked up a car that I had bought when I was in the military, and we had to go and pick it up from Bremerhaven, and then we drove through the Netherlands, through Belgium, back down into Germany. So I know of Aachen. Frankfurt. All right. Yes, Christmas time is a wonderful time over there. I love the Christmas markets. The One of the best ones I ever went to was in Trier, and it was amazing. Um, I was in Frankfurt a couple times. Flew into Frankfurt and flew out of Frankfurt this trip. Gustav. Right. Bavarians love to talk too. Yeah, it's, and obviously my wife had been away from her family for quite a while, so they had to catch up on everything. So then, cousins came over and, aunts came over, and um, it was a good time. It was a really, really fun time. I really miss just how, what's the word? Just chill, how laid back. From the moment we got off the plane, it was hectic because you're flying into Frankfurt. You've been on a plane for over 11 hours. You're tired. You flew overnight. You're trying to pick up a rental car, and things can be pretty stressful. But there's also a sense of peace, a sense of calmness, a sense of people besides the travelers aren't really freaking out about stuff. It was. And then just driving around and visiting, it was just, a calm, peaceful feeling. And I get that every time I go over there. So you do live in Rheinland-Pfalz, and all right. A French talk show. No, I've never seen a French talk show. I don't know that I really want to watch a French talk show, but you know. Yeah, mead in cute cups, the Glühwein. That, but I burn my mouth on it every single time because I want to drink it so bad, but it's so hot. Those and the crepes. I get the cinnamon and sugar, or the cinnamon one, um, and it sticks to your mouth. So I burn my mouth every time because it's so good. I want to eat it, but it's so hot. And the Glühwein just warming you from the inside out. Yeah, I really miss Christmas over there. Fabian, yes, that is the plan. We do want to live in Germany. We want to move over there permanently. Hopefully, in the next year, year and a half, that will become a reality. It's something that I've always wanted to do ever since I was in the military and was stationed over there. And every time I go back, it gets harder and harder for me to come back to the U.S. Just, I can't put it into words. It's just a feeling of being where I belong. That's really all I can say. But yes, we do want to move back permanently. Yeah, the German supermarkets are pretty fast. I actually got a little video of my wife and her sister shopping at Aldi, and got some footage of them at the checkout. And those German cashiers are just zipping right along. They don't miss a beat, and you better be bagging your stuff quick or you're going to be left behind. But one interesting thing about that is that my sister-in-law, my wife's sister, was complaining about how much the cheese cost, because it was like €3 for a pack of cheese or something, and she thought that was way too much. And I just laughed, and I said, way too much? That's normal here in the U.S. where we live. And the shopping cart that we had wasn't all the way full, but I mean, we got a fair amount of groceries, and it was €40. And my wife and I were thinking, there's no way we could have bought all of this for $40 in the US. it would have been 60, 70, $80 for what we bought. So it's kind of funny how they were complaining about the cost of cheese, but for us it was like, that's nothing. I mean, we could spend $100 and have half a shopping cart full of stuff. So it was kind of nice to know that groceries are a little bit cheaper because gas prices were not. So which region of Germany would I like to live in if I could choose? Well, if I could choose anywhere in Germany, now granted, where we are going to move is going to be Rhineland-Pfalz, because that's where my wife's family is. She wants to be close to family. And if we're not in her hometown, we'll be in one of the near towns around there. But which I really enjoy that area. However, there's not a whole lot of job opportunities around that area as compared to around Berlin or Munich or, the larger cities. I don't want to live too close to there because I really want to get away from the crowds. I live in Phoenix, or outside of Phoenix, Arizona. There's 7 million people in the valley or close to it. And I'm tired of people. I'm tired of traffic. I'm tired of long lines everywhere. So I want to get away from that. So I really love Rhineland-Pfalz. I love that area. I love that her hometown has 500 people, so it's really quiet, but it's reasonable distance to Kaiserslautern. And so we can go shopping, or we can go out to eat, or do whatever, relatively easily. So that's probably the area we'll be living in. I did like Hessen when I was stationed over there, up near, up just north of Frankfurt. But that was a couple-hour drive to her family, so that's going to be too far away. So we're going to stay as close as we can to her family. Thank you for the good luck. Appreciate it. All right, Fabian. If I need help, I can text you. If you can get me a job, I'll be over there. Norando, hi from Spain. Rammstein, either Rammstein the band or Rammstein the city, because my wife's from very close to Rammstein Air Force Base. Kaiserslautern, yes. DK Peppa, I appreciate that. I will be back over there. I will be back over. But the one thing that I really miss about over there is how easy it is to get places. Here, from my wife's hometown to Switzerland to Grindelwald was less than 6 hours if I knew where I was going. But you can get to maybe San Diego from here in about 6 hours. The distance is shorter over there, but it always surprises me just how easy it is to travel. One day I went to France while we were over there because her hometown's real close to the border there, so it took me about the same amount of time for me to get to France as it does for me to get to work here. So that's pretty crazy. And had just a one-day outing by myself in France. Went to Biche and went to the Chateau De Flechenstein. That was the first time I'd been to that place, and that was pretty cool. But I got there real early because I couldn't sleep, so I just woke up and took a drive. So I think I got to the chateau at like 8 in the morning. So obviously they weren't open yet, but I was able to walk up to the base of the castle and look around. So that's really cool. So I love traveling. I love seeing new places. So I think it's just so much easier in Europe because everything's pretty close, you know, and if you don't want to drive, you can hop on a train. Yes, Alexander, the landscape there is beautiful. Very beautiful. So one thing about getting over there, now this will be part of my actual next video where I share some tips on anybody who from here who's traveling overseas. So I don't want to give everything away, but the one thing that kind of caught us off guard was that our plane was delayed leaving Phoenix, which that didn't surprise me at all. Planes are always delayed. And these planes basically just went back and forth. So if one starts getting late, then it's late arriving, then that one's even later leaving, you know, so it's a domino effect. But we got to Frankfurt a couple hours later than when we were scheduled. And I had already reserved a rental car in Frankfurt. Unfortunately, we were outside that 1 hour grace window to pick it up. And so the guy at the counter said, well, you know, you're outside the window. So we already released the car, meaning they had already rented it to somebody else. And, you know, it's not their fault and it's not my fault, but they had one car left. And that was the same size that I had wanted. And I wanted like a crossover SUV, not a super tiny compact car, because there was a family of 4 and we had our luggage, and so I thought we needed a little bit bigger vehicle. So they had one left that was the same size, and it happened to be a Range Rover Evoque, and that thing is so nice. Yes, it was a little bit more expensive, but I think well worth it. I mean, what are we going to do? We needed a rental car. I guess we could have downsized, but then who knows if our bags would have fit or whatever. But this Range Rover, that my wife and I both fell in love with this thing. So that might be one of our next vehicles. Although we won't buy one here. We will wait until we are in Germany to get one, because they offer the diesel model, and that's what I would prefer. They're more efficient. But this was a sick vehicle. This was nice. Touch screen. I mean, I got in it and I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to drive it. I don't know what all this means, you know, but ended up being okay. I drove it everywhere. The gas mileage was incredible. I think the last time I filled it up before we took it back, the fuel range was over 870 kilometers. And I thought, good grief, on one tank of gas for a SUV is insane. That's over 550 miles on a tank of gas. My little Hyundai doesn't get close to that. So, granted, the gas tank's a little bit bigger in the Range Rover, but still, for a diesel, for a SUV, I think it used between 5 and 7 liters per 100 kilometers, which that caught me off guard. The miles per gallon over here, you don't do the exact same thing over there. You do how many liters per 100 kilometers. So, I mean, you can do the math. It's pretty simple, but it was a nice vehicle. So one of the tips I'll share, the first one, is to always expect the unexpected, because it's just going to happen. Chase, buddy, man, that trip was insane. You got to get over there. You got to get over there. Yeah, I'm still going through all the pictures. I think I have over 800 pictures just on my phone. And then I have my camera and videos. I'm still trying to go through all of this stuff. I didn't take, unfortunately, you know, I wanted to do more video work over there. And I got quite a bit of video, but I didn't do any kind of vlog style video or, talking videos while I was walking around, which I kind of regret a little bit. I should have done more of that, but I'll put together some sort of montage of a lot of the things, because it was so peaceful. Even the cows in Switzerland with those huge bells dangling, and you could hear them forever. You're like, well, there's cows somewhere over here, because you could hear them, and they were just out in these fields, coming down the mountain. From when we took the gondola up, we were on the little trikes and coming down. We actually had to stop in the trail because there was a cow just standing right in the path. Like, okay, and I'm not gonna bother it. I'll let it move when it wants to move. But it was kind of funny. The guy told us, be careful, because there's cows and there's cars, because they're actually public roads. They're roads that you wouldn't think a car would drive up, but they do. So we had to be careful about that. But it was kind of funny. We turned a corner and then there's a cow standing right in the middle of the path that we had to wait for. Yes, Boston trains are cheap. You can get, when we dropped the car off in Frankfurt, we dropped it off a couple days early from when I was flying. So my wife and I had to get on a train at least once while I was there, because I love trains. It's €9. €9, and you can go anywhere. And obviously those are the cheap tickets, the cheap trains, so they stop at every stop. And what we thought was going to be just maybe a 3-hour train ride back ended up being all day, because one train was late, then another one had problems on the track, or they had a problem with the train tracks or something, so we had to wait. And then it was getting to the point where the train we were on, because these trains just go back and forth. We went from Frankfurt to Kaiserslautern, and that train just goes back and forth between those 2 points. So we got partway back and we had to change trains. We all had to get off the train and wait for another one, because the train that we were on was going to be too late to make it to Kaiserslautern and back to Frankfurt. So they just had to turn around and go straight back to Frankfurt for the next trip. So then we're waiting for 30 minutes in some town somewhere for another train to get. It took us forever to get back. Now those, I tried to just enjoy the process, enjoy that I'm in Germany hopping on trains and stuff. But it was times like that where it kind of got a little bit annoying, frustrating, because I didn't want to spend all day going from Frankfurt to Kaiserslautern, but that's the way it happens, and you just got to go with it. But that was kind of a bummer that, and then the train that we got on was smaller than the original train, so it's the running joke was, well, that's the German train system for you. Always late, never on time, always crowded. Yeah, correct. The €9 tickets just for those close distance and the slow trains. So you can't go anywhere in Europe on a $9 ticket. Didn't mention driving the roads, and the gas mileage is good. Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to talk about driving on the Autobahn, and it is what it is. It's just an interstate. Yes, I got that thing going maybe 108 miles an hour, but it wasn't for long. It was just for me to do it. But cruising speeds about 80 miles an hour, 140 kilometers per hour, 130 kilometers per hour. It's just not. It's a big deal if you've never done it. But once you've done it, then driving around over there's just like driving around anywhere, except for the roads are half as wide as any road over here. There are some streets over there that I thought there's no way you could have anything bigger than what I'm driving and make it down this road. It's impossible. Koblenz is not the middle of nowhere. Okay. Deutsche Bahn problems, that's right. Yeah, the train system, I guess, is just like anywhere else with public transportation. You're gonna have some issues, but I love riding trains. I love once it gets going. Being stopped and stuck, and that's no fun. But I always love getting on a train while we're over there. Hey, Sebastian. Lower Franconia. Chase, I had good food and good drink every day. It's, I mean, your typical German, breakfast, bread and some meat or cheese or a spread or something, cup of coffee. My mother-in-law always cooked us lunch. One thing I wasn't prepared for or had forgotten about is how strict her family is on an eating schedule. It's like, okay, you have breakfast, but then at noon is lunch. I mean, then she'll cook. It's like, well, what if I'm not hungry at noon? Or, what if we're busy and we're doing something else? So it's kind of funny that we had to let her know ahead of time, hey, don't cook lunch today because we're going to be gone. But I ate very well. Dinner was amazing. Obviously, all the beer was great. The schnapps. Liam actually had a few shots of schnapps that I was like, that stuff's rough. And he felt it the next day. So I had to rub it in a little bit. Yeah, that's called a hangover, son. Your head hurts and you don't feel very well. That's what that's called. And then, of course, traveling, we had to try the local stuff. So in Switzerland, we wanted to try local beer. And on the trip back from Grindelwald, we stopped in Bern and ate at this tiny little cafe that's like underground. So I'll show more pictures about Bern, but the street that we went to was the main street where the famous clock tower is, and that was built in the 1500s. It's an astronomical clock, but it's built on the gate that was the original western perimeter gate of the city, and that was built in the 1100s. So, the history of these places just blows my mind still. But anyway, they have cobblestone street, and they have a bus that goes back and forth. It's like an electric thing, like the old trolleys, so it's wired to a cable across the sky there. But they have what look like old cellar doors that you open, up from the ground. Well, these places were actually places of business. There was a barber shop in one of them, so you walk down underground and there's these shops. And this place that we ate, you entered at the street level, but then it walked down toward the back. So it wasn't underground, but it felt like it. But it was this tiny little place. So I had a local beer that the guy that worked there said a friend of his brewed, and you were only able to get it, I think he said, like at a church. Maybe it wasn't a church. It was somewhere weird, like you wouldn't expect it to be. But he didn't distribute anywhere. But this guy, being his friend, was the only one allowed to sell it in his place of business. So I got a $5 beer, he said, that would normally cost me $8 if I bought it where they usually have it. To be honest, I didn't care for it that much. It was too hoppy. It was more of an IPA beer, craft beer, if you will. But nonetheless, it was a local Swiss beer brewed right there in Bern. So that was pretty cool. And in Grindelwald, we drank, whatever we could. It was good. Fabian, which job do I need in Germany? Right now, I take just about anything. I work in logistics right now, so I do work with Amazon. I don't work directly for Amazon, but I work for a logistics company that we do all the delivering of the packages and that, but I'm part of the management team now, so I have a lot of that experience in logistics. But at the moment, I would work in a gas station. If it got me to Germany, I would just about do anything. Yes, Jason, letting the kids become a bit more cultured. Finn, not so much, but that's fine. Liam always drank Radler, so that was okay. The lemonade and beer. He doesn't care for the stronger beers too much, but I don't know why he liked the schnapps. It was like rubbing alcohol. And Germans love to complain, and you love being on time, so you always have something to complain about. The train system is never on time. Yeah, it was a really exclusive beer. I wish it would have been better. I wish I would have enjoyed it more, but um, we actually stopped in Bern only because my wife wanted to get a local beer or something from Switzerland to take back for her family. And so I absolutely hate driving in places I'm unfamiliar with. Um, my anxiety goes through the roof. I don't like not knowing where I'm going or any of that. But on the way back, so we had the GPS set for Germany, and she comes up with this idea, hey, let's, maybe Bern has somewhere where we can get souvenirs or something to take back. And I said, okay. So I said, well, I don't know what exit to take. I'm just going to pick one. And so anytime you're over there and you see Centrum on a sign, it's a pretty good bet that that's a good exit to take, because that will take you to the center. And a lot of times it's a city center or some sort of, it could be an industrial center, but normally it's more like the city center. So I found a sign and I just exited. And there was another one, so there was like Centrum North, and so north and like east or something. I said, I don't know which one to take, so I'm just going to follow the one I'm following. I'm just going to keep going. And I told her at one point, I said, you know how much I hate this, right? You know how much I hate driving. I don't know where I'm going. The GPS is useless at this point because it's trying to point me back to Germany. And she said, yes, and I'm proud of you for doing it and for not freaking out too much. And I said, well, let's just keep going. We'll go for a while. We ended up, guys, at this bridge, and I immediately saw a parking spot and just stopped. I said, this is it. We are here. It was perfect. It was over a bridge, and the street that we walked up was right in front of us. It was like just up a little bit, but it was absolutely perfect. So that's really the only reason why we went there, was to find beer. And we ended up not buying any of that, but we found it was liquor, but it was like 3 glass square jars, I guess, stacked. So they fit in each other. So it made a tall, like maybe 10-inch tall liquor thing, but each one was separate, and you could do a shot with each one. So it was really the only reason why we stopped at Bern, but I'm super glad we did. I got a shot glass from there because I collect shot glasses from everywhere I go. Got to see the tower, the clock, and walk around. So that was pretty cool. So one of those other tips I'll be sharing is to just be adventurous. You know, go somewhere you hadn't planned on going. Not everything has to be laid out to a T by a certain time. You know, there are times where it's just like, you know what? Let's just take this exit, see where it takes us. Let's just drive for a while, see where it goes. I mean, you'll be surprised at what you might find out. Granted, there's some times where you're not going to see anything or whatever, but a lot of times you'll be pleasantly surprised at what you'll find at the end of the road. It could have been one of those old breweries, but from what I understood, it was a new beer. You know, it wasn't like one of those old, because I've had a beer from Kreuzberg near Hessen that's the only place you could get it, was at the monastery up on top of the mountain, and the only time of year you could do it was summertime because it was closed in the winter. So it might have been something like that, but from what I understood, it was more it wasn't that old, you know what I mean? But I guess it doesn't matter if that's where they could brew it. That's where they sell it. Yes, there's a lot, so many different kinds of beers. I do know that Pilsner is my least favorite, because that's a lot. It reminds me of like the Budweiser and the Coors and the stuff you get over here in the US, and I'm not a Pilsner fan. It's too hoppy. I prefer the darker ales, or, you know, less hops. I don't do IPA at all. Nothing. It's all gross. All right. Next time I will visit the Netherlands. That was actually one of the places where we had thought about taking our little trip. Just my wife and I. Her first thought was Luxembourg, and I thought, why would we want to go back to Luxembourg? We've been to Luxembourg 1,000 times. I was thinking more somewhere where we haven't been, and then I thought, well, maybe, the Netherlands would be pretty cool. We have been in Amsterdam in the past, but it wasn't a long trip. It was when we picked up our car, so we just spent the night there and then had to leave the next day, so we didn't get to do anything. So I thought, well, maybe go there, and then I thought maybe the coast, the North Coast, somewhere up there. But I ended up going to Switzerland instead. So next time, yes, the Netherlands are definitely on the short list to get back to and actually visit properly. So if you have any recommendations on where to go, I'd love to hear them, because everybody knows of Amsterdam. And I'd like to go back there to visit more of that. But I also really enjoy the smaller places, or the coastal places, that aren't as well known. Maybe that, not as tourist friendly. I think, all right, thanks, Justin. In Hesse, the apple oil, I think I may have had, because I was stationed up there for 3 years, and I do remember a lot of cider, but I don't know what I had. But that's pretty crazy that it was included in the UNESCO cultural heritage. That's pretty fun. I do like some ciders. If you need a nice refreshing drink that's not so heavy and whatever, but I'll have to try that out. Hello, Edward. So I'm glad you guys all made it on such short notice today. I kind of wanted to get out there again. I know being on vacation for a couple weeks, I didn't get anything posted, but a couple shorts. But I just wanted to touch base again, let you know that we made it back. My wife is actually still over there. She has one more week before she comes home, and it really sucks being apart for that long. But and unfortunately, she doesn't have a straight flight like we did from Frankfurt back to Phoenix. She has a layover in Boston, and she's really hoping it's gonna be okay because it's only a 3-hour layover, and our planes are notorious for being late, and then she has to go through customs and all of that. So I know she'll be fine, but it's just a little more stressful for her to come back, and she's by herself. So I'll be picking her up from the airport next Monday, so I can't freaking wait. Yes, Edward, I need to go back to the sea, back to the ocean. I've seen both coasts of the United States, so the Pacific and the Atlantic, and I've been on the coast of Spain, both the east coast and the southern coast, and I've seen the north coast in Germany, but I would like to go back to relax at these places. Well, I did relax in Spain, but in Germany, the north coast, I need to go back up there because that was pretty cool history about because that's where the main port is, and where a lot of people back, 150 years ago, 200 years ago, immigrated out, and that's where they left from that port. And if they were going to the United States, they went to Ellis Island for the most part. But the history in these places is incredible, and I need to get back to France and visit the coast there as well. So I don't know that I could live. Well, maybe I could. Maybe I could live closer to the ocean. I've never been a huge water person, so I'm not sure. And obviously, I need to get up to Great Britain. I need to visit family in Scotland and Ireland, and I'd love to see the coasts of those countries. But long list of places that I'd like to go to. Mönchengladbach and Altbier. I have had an Altbier before. Mönchengladbach. Where? That's... I know of the place. I don't know that I've been there. I have had alt beer in the past and have liked it. Yeah, there's so many new places, so many old places I'd like to get back to visit more now that cameras are big. When I was stationed over there the first time, digital cameras weren't a thing. Smartphones weren't a thing. So you had disposable cameras or film cameras, and so I don't have a lot of pictures of those places that we had visited, or they're not very good pictures. They're grainy or out of focus. So I would like to get back to get some proper photos of a lot of these places. All right. I'm not even going to pronounce that one. Terschelling? Is that close? A small island? I'd do that. I could do that. Most beautiful coast in Germany is Lake Constance. Yeah, that would be nice to go visit these places. It's kind of fun to know that you can go between Dusseldorf and the Dutch border. Okay. So I do know of it. I may have driven through it because I've taken the route north. But these places where you can go and visit like 3 countries, you can walk into 3 different countries at this, at the same time. You can. Would love to visit those areas. Hey, Melts. Yeah, the northern coasts, they're not your typical, beach picture, white sand, blue water coast, but they do have their own charm. It's like kind of like New England in the United States. It's cooler. The water's not bright blue, but it's still beautiful in its own way. So. $280 active small breweries. Holy crap. That would be alright. Gray sand and brown water. Yep. But it's its own, you don't go up there to take the typical beach travel photos. I'd like to get back up there and just go to more of the museums that they have up there. Alright, I'll go visit Barcelona. That's one place my wife always vacationed when she was a girl, when she was little. And she says her only memory of that is that their car broke down. And so all the Spaniards were getting upset and flipping them off, driving and honking their horns at them because they were so mad that their car broke down in the road. She said that's her only memory of the place. So maybe we need to get back and get a few better memories of Barcelona. But I'd love to go back to Barcelona, go back to Spain. Yeah, I could go back to Würzburg. City tours are always a hit or miss type of deal, I feel like, because, hey Elka, because you can have a good one, but a lot of times it's so fast, you don't have time to actually stop and look at anything. They tell you this and that and this and that, and it's like pushing, they got to go so they can get the next group through or whatever. I don't do a whole lot of tours, guided tours, for that fact that I don't want you to tell me when we're going to the next spot. I want to move at my own pace, see what I want to explore, different things. However, having some sort of guided tour would be nice because then you get more of the history or more of an explanation of what something is or maybe what happened there. So it's kind of I would like a little mixture of both. Tell me what happened here, but then let me go explore it on my own. I guess there's books for that too. So Elka, sorry we didn't get to meet up while I was over there. That would have been fun. But next time, and it won't be 9 years. Can't believe the last time I was over there was 2013. Crazy. Cheers, Justin. Yeah, in general, they do have amazing museums in Germany. A lot of history there. And yeah, I've seen documentaries on different things on TV, and there are so many places to visit that, yeah, you have to spend a lifetime doing it, and you're still not gonna to visit everything, but I like finding the smaller gems. You know, the places that not everybody gravitates to or knows about, but the places that still have a lot of history or a lot of fun facts about them. You know, it's those places that I really enjoy visiting. You have to visit the big places. I tell everybody over here, if they've never been to Europe, I said, you have to go, obviously. You have to get out of the United States. You can't just stay here. But if you do go to Paris, if you do go to Germany, or, you know, those places, you have to see the typical stuff. If you're going to Paris, you have to, you know, you're going to see the Eiffel Tower. You're going to see Arc de Triomphe. You're going to see Notre Dame. But then I tell them, if you want to experience the culture, if you want to experience the country, if you want to get a real, true sense of what it's like, I say you have to go to these smaller towns. You have to go to the villages that are off the beaten path, because there you're going to get a sense of what it's like, of the people there. Because I've been to Paris a couple times, and not to be completely rude, but I found that the French there in Paris were rude. And I can understand why, because it's their city and they have all these outsiders, all these tourists coming in and expecting everybody to speak English or whatever, you know, so I can understand their frustration. But when I went to Beach and went into a little shop, the lady was super friendly. I don't speak French. I speak very little German. She didn't speak anything but French. So obviously the communication was short, but I attempted French. And I think that's the thing, that the key to anybody visiting somewhere else, that just try a little bit of the language. Don't just assume somebody's going to understand English. But so I, you know, said the very few things I knew in French, and she smiled. And, you know, so you have to get a true sense of a place from the smaller villages, I feel like, not the massive tourist trap cities, because that's one thing Grindelwald I was kind of disappointed in, because it is a tourist place. The Eiger is, you know, a world famous mountaineering mountain. And people who are into alpinism, you know, alpinists, they know the Eiger, they want to climb it, and it's one of the most difficult in the world. So it gets a lot of tourist business. So I was disappointed that a lot of the stuff was geared toward tourists. It was not authentic, you know. There were a lot of authentic things there, but it was just like, oh, another gift shop, you know, that are every other store that are overpriced, and the quality's not the best. But I guess you're gonna expect that in these types of places. But I don't know, just my philosophy. Yeah, see, now it's 15 minutes from the Frankfurt airport, but you're in the middle of the woods. See, that's wonderful, because then it just doesn't feel like you're right there. Here in Arizona, well, there are no woods in Phoenix, so I can go to the top of a little hill here and be able to see 30 plus miles away. It's flat everywhere, and I miss the woods, the forest around my wife's hometown. I took a walk every day and would just go and listen to the birds in the trees. You know, it's so peaceful. Trying to catch up on all your comments. Yeah, the tulip fields in the Netherlands, that would be That would be amazing. That would be, yeah. Yeah, there's some places where you have to go at certain times to get the true sense, like when, like here in the desert, I think March, when the cacti start blooming, a lot of people go out and take pictures of all that because it doesn't last very long. It's very short, it's very quick. So they bloom and then they're gone. So I think certain places you have to time it just right to get to be able to see the real beauty of the place. Thanks, Alka. I'm still working on my German. I don't. It's one of those that I know a lot of words, and I was talking to my niece while we were over there, and talking to her about trying to find work and moving back. And I said, yeah, I need to really get on my German skills. And I said, I know a lot of words. I just don't know how to put them into a sentence that makes sense. And so the grammar part is what catches me. And I kind of know the pattern, but it's still, and it's intimidating to, we don't want to be wrong. We don't want to sound like a fool. So I think that's part of the part that's keeping me from just going for it is I'm a perfectionist, so I don't like to be wrong, and I don't want to sound like an idiot, but I know that's not what's going to happen. You know what I mean? I may sound like an idiot, but people aren't going to make fun of me for not knowing. It's just the fact that I'm trying, but I really try. And it helps a lot that my wife and I text back and forth in German, because she'll just text in German, and if I don't know, I'll look it up just so I understand what she's saying. But that way I'm getting more words, I'm getting the sentence structure down. And especially her hard thing was she didn't know if I wanted to learn proper German or how they actually speak. And I said, well, I want to know how you actually speak. I mean, yes, I should know the proper German, but people don't talk like that. It's like English. You're not going to learn proper English. You're going to learn how people actually talk and the slang of that area. So I'm working on it. Yes, if you always ask the locals where they go, a lot of times you'll find those perfect little gems of places that nobody else will know about. That's a good idea. And that's why I like going out on my own, is because I can just take it at my own pace. I can go where I want. I can take as much time as I feel like I need. On the other hand, I'd like somebody there to explain to me what I'm looking at sometimes. I do get pictures of all the signs though, so I can read them later and remember, oh, okay, this is what happened. Yeah, watching movies in German. I have a few podcasts. It just comes down to discipline. It comes down to me just sitting down and saying, look, for the next hour, I'm just going to learn some German. Or on the way to work, put in a German podcast. Or I'd love to try and find an app or something that I can play German radio stations because I always enjoyed listening to that in Germany. Oh, I don't know if I'll get the same music, but just to hear it more, because I feel like with anything that repetition is key, and if I can just hear it over and over, I'll start picking up on it and then picking out what I don't know. So podcasts and movies, even if I have to watch it with subtitles on at first, so I can hear the German being spoken and then read what's going on. It really just comes down to doing it. Exactly. If people make fun of you, they don't know. And the thing is, most Europeans aren't going to make fun of somebody trying to speak another language, because most Europeans speak more than one language. And it's in the United States where people are going to look at you sideways if you don't speak English, because, well, they're arrogant and stupid. But most Europeans are at least bilingual, if not more than two languages. Like, I didn't know this before going to Switzerland, that Switzerland has 3 national languages. And I had no idea. It's Italian, German, and French. And it kind of caught us off guard at first, because we would be walking and somebody would say something in French to us, and the next person would say something in Italian, and then in German. And then they have Swiss, which is their own thing. And my wife and I just kept, I don't know what to speak here. Do I try and speak Italian? Do I try and speak French? German? It was kind of funny. And I told her, I said, I guarantee you these people that work at these restaurants and whatever, they know all 3 languages, because they just flip back and forth. If I said something in German, they would flip from Italian to German. And it just blew my mind. I was like, psh. I mean, it's just so much more. They're open to other things, It's crazy that they can all speak multiple languages. Oh, that would be awesome, Elka. Gave up on it, huh? That's too bad. I really, really want to. I'd love to be a polyglot. You know what I mean? Multiple languages. It's just the discipline behind that is. I may not have that type of discipline, but I have heard that I think once I know German to the point where I'm fluent or comfortable reading and writing and all of that, if you take, and I can learn, say if I wanted to learn French next, I'll buy French language books that are in German, because then I'm keeping on my German language, but I'm using German to learn French. And I feel like that's one of those ways where you don't forget one of the languages, because if I came back to English every time and then learned German, and then came back to English to learn French, and came back to English to learn Spanish or whatever, I could lose one of these other languages because I'm not using it as much. But if I went German, use German to learn French, and then use French to learn Spanish, that would be pretty intense. That would be a lot of fun. And maybe once I get German down, and we can start focusing on the next one. I don't know how people learn multiple languages at the same time. I can't. My brain doesn't work like that. Yeah, see, and if you don't use English in everyday life, or if I don't use German in everyday life, you're going to lose some knowledge. When I lived over there, I understood and could speak a lot more because I was always around it. My wife, the TV, going out shopping, doing whatever. And I took a college course in German, and we learned, it was like a 6-week night class that we learned. The instructor told us the first day, you're going to learn more German in 6 weeks than a college student will learn in 2 years. And I thought, uh-oh, I am in trouble because that sounds intense. But by the end, he was right. We took a field trip to Frankfurt and he spoke nothing but German. And I understood. Couldn't always respond. That's always been my hiccup. I can understand it. It's just responding the way I want to. But if you're not using it all the time, you lose that. I speak English very well, but I kann es noch nicht so schnell. Yep. You speak 4 languages, Thomas. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, see, I don't know how you'd learn multiple languages at the same time. You really have to be able to flip your brain from one to the next. Because when I got to Germany the first time with the military, I'd taken Spanish in high school and I still knew some Spanish. So when I got to Germany, some of the, like was, means what in German, but my brain always thought to go in Spanish. I don't know, where are we going? It was hard for me to flip back, but then if I didn't know the German word, I a lot of times knew the Spanish word, and if I didn't know either of those, then I knew the English word. So it was kind of a mess at first, but I got there. Oh, good grief, ultra pouring. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. Yes, once you start thinking in that language, then you know what's going on. I had my Spanish teacher in high school told us one day that when you have a dream in that language, in your target language, then you know you fully understand the language. You're not completely fluent per se, but you understand the language. And I remember one time in high school, I had a dream that was entirely in Spanish. And I woke up freaked out. I was like, what just happened? Like, I didn't know what was said. I couldn't replay the dream in my head, but I knew that entire dream was in Spanish. And I got to school and I told him, I was like, I just had a Spanish dream. I had a dream and it was nothing but Spanish. And he said, see, now you know that you're starting to fully understand the language. And I really think that's true, that if you just randomly start thinking in German, or if I'm driving down the road and have thoughts in my head and then all of a sudden it's in German, then I know I'm starting to learn. I'm starting to fully understand what's going on. French is so much harder than German. A lot of people here that I know, friends or whatever, they think German's such a difficult language. I said, it's really not. It sounds rough. Don't get me wrong. It's not a romantic language. But it's not as hard as what a lot of people assume it to be. I think it's just because of the way it sounds. People think it's hard to learn. It's not as easy as a Latin-based language like a Spanish or something, because the rules aren't so clear-cut. Granted, there's exceptions for everything, but in general, it's not. Spanish was pretty easy for me to learn because it's, the gender of nouns was a lot easier than in German. But I don't know that I could. I would love to learn French just because if I'm over there, French is one of the main languages. But boy, now if you say it 6 years in school and you still didn't advance, I don't know. High German and Hessian. Yeah, I mean, is there a lot of, hello Westfala, a lot of what am I trying to say? I guess it depends on where you go. Like High German, Hochdeutsch. It's hard for me to pick out like or to imagine the different dialects, but I know when I lived over there, I could definitely tell the difference between Pfälzisch and Bavarian. And my wife would definitely, she could pick them all out. Like I started listening to a German rapper, Apache 207, right? Anyway, and I didn't show her the video, just had her listen to one of the songs, and she immediately, like 4 words into the thing, said, "Is he Turkish?" I'm like, I guess. I mean, he looks like he could be. And I said, you hear that? He's like, "Oh yeah." She said, "I definitely hear the Turkish accent." And I'm like, man, for me, it's just amazing to be able to. But I guess I can understand, or I can pick out a different dialect here in the U.S. You know, the Boston accent or the Southern accent. You know, that somebody who doesn't know English at all wouldn't necessarily be able to pick up so easy. So once I get to that level where I can pick out somebody else's nationality speaking German, then you know I understand the language. And that's true. Kids learn, they understand a lot more before they're able to speak. And I hate it when older people say, you know, "I'm too old to learn another language. It's easier for kids to learn." And I think that's bullshit. I don't agree with that whatsoever, because kids have nothing to base anything off of. They're learning these words from scratch. Like, it does not exist until they learn it. As adults, we have the ability to make comparisons, to see patterns, to be able to learn something new. So I think technically it would be easier for an adult to learn a second language instead of a kid, because we aren't starting from zero. We already are fluent in one language. So we understand the structure of a language, and we can use that knowledge to learn another one. So I don't agree at all with people saying I'm too old to learn another language. All right, Reese. Thank you for popping in. I appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day or evening wherever you are. No, you're never too old to learn anything, Denise. I agree. when you speak German, you get asked if you're Dutch. Yeah, and I've been told, you know, when I spoke, it's people tell me your German's very, very good, you know, but I don't hear it, because I feel like I'm talking like a 3-year-old. But you know, we all got to start somewhere. Menace to society. Hello. "10 years in Switzerland," and you, it's great. See, and to be able to pick up on the accents of others, it would be pretty fun. And I think it's kind of um, just fascinating to me that everybody, whatever your mother tongue is, whatever your original language is, and then you speak a different language, everybody comes in with their own accent. I just think that's great. Like a Oriental language speaking German, or a Latin speaking German, or an American speaking German. We're all going to say it differently. Obviously, there's a point where you could become fluent to the point where you don't have a foreign accent. And actually, my wife is like that with English. I tell people she's German, and then she talks to them, and I thought you said she was German. Well, she is. She just knows English so well. She does not have a German accent. Certain things here and there you could probably tell is a little different, but for the most part, nope, no accent at all. Right, the little regional dialect and quirks are fun. That's kind of funny. A half rooster is actually not half a chicken. That's what I would have thought. It's like, I don't know if I want to order half a chicken. Sorry. Move to the Netherlands, y'all speak English perfectly fine. But that's not what I want. I don't want everybody to speak English. And it was kind of, when I would go to the gas station in Germany on our trip, I went in with the mindset, I'm going to speak German as much as I can. I'm not going to come in here as an American tourist or as a soldier, because that's mostly the American population. Where my wife is from is Ramstein Air Force Base. So I'm not going to go in there just speaking English. I'm going to speak German. And I did. And for the most part, the attendant, the worker, would just speak German back to me. And at one point, the guy working thought I had dropped something, and he said it in German, and I just kind of stopped him. Oh, shit. I don't know what he just said. And then he spoke English, realizing, oh, I'm not German, and I didn't drop anything. But then there were times when I would go and I would speak German, and they would immediately come at me back in English. And I'm like, no, I mean, thank you for making sure I understand, but it's almost insulting. Like, I'm trying to speak German, so please speak German back to me until I don't understand, and then I'll ask you. And I remember I went to Baumholder one day, and that's where I was stationed my first tour over there. And went to the gas station, and I got something to drink or something, and I took it up, and I said whatever, and then I looked at her and I said, my German's not so good. And when she looked at me and she said, well, my English isn't so good either. So we had a little laugh, and I said that in German, and then she said it in English, so it was kind of funny. But if I felt like if I'm trying to speak German, don't just assume I'm not going to understand anything you say. I get why, but it was kind of a put down, a letdown that, no, don't just come at me in English, just assuming I don't know how to speak German. You put that on a t-shirt. You're never too old to learn. Yeah, exactly. Your second language doesn't need to be perfect, but if you can go out and order something and then get what you ordered, that's really all that matters. Or you ask for directions and you can understand where to go, or they understand what you're asking. That's really all that matters, because I think people, tend to either look down on that because they don't know a second language, so they're jealous. But I don't know. I think everybody in the world needs to know at least 2 languages. Alka, you've been called an Irish or Swedish native? How does one that can't pronounce an R roll it? Good question. That's my wife texting. Whoa, that's bright. My wife texting. She misses me. See, and we text in German. One more week and I'll be able to see her again. You know, it's one of those that everybody likes their space. You know, there's a time where you just need your own space. You need to do your own thing. Like when we were over there on our trip, I'd take a walk by myself. I would go somewhere by myself. For one, I knew my wife wanted to spend more time with her family. And two, I wanted to be by myself. Then comes, you know, those times where it's like, okay, I'm done being by myself. I miss my wife. I want her to come home. I told her when we left, this isn't happening again. You're not staying behind. Either we all stay behind or you're coming back with us because this sucks. So one more week. Hopefully it'll go by fast. Now, sometimes, you know, Marcus, like when you're speaking Spanish and sometimes people reply in English, sometimes, I guess if I'm in, depending on the situation, you know, if it's a technical thing that I'm asking or something like that, sometimes I don't mind, but at least I tried, and I'd like them to try, you know, to help me with that. So I guess it depends on the situations. I do know when I went to Spain in high school, everybody wanted to speak English with me, and I think um, you're right that it was they found it exotic to speak English because where I was wasn't like a lot of tourists play. It was 99% Spanish, and here comes this American kid, and so everybody wanted to meet the American kid and speak English, and you know, I felt like a celebrity almost at times. It was kind of funny. Have a good day, Denise. Thanks for stopping by. Well, let's see. How long have we been going? I don't even know. An hour and a half. I think we might need to wrap this up pretty soon so I can go eat. I need to go grocery shopping. No, I didn't speak a whole lot of German before. Um, it's just hard for me to just immediately like switch to German because I really am not comfortable yet with the grammar part. Um, I need to practice more. Um, I have said a few words in German, but not full sentences. So I think maybe next time. Maybe next time I'll do a lot more in German. Maybe that'll force me into starting to learn it more, because before I move over there, I want to be able to just go and speak German. You know, so that is a top goal of mine. Yes, Marcus, 88 minutes, about an hour and a half. So I'm gonna have to just about call it good. Thanks, Chase. Appreciate you stopping in, man. I will let you know when these other videos are out and when I get through these other pictures. It was a good time. You'll have to definitely get over there, buddy. You definitely do. After you come visit me first. Although, come visit when it's not 150. That's one thing I did not miss coming back, was this stupid heat. Oh, I'm so over this. Elka, I will drop you an email. Thank you so much. Alright, next time I'll try and speak more German. And there will be a lot of mistakes. But, hey, you got to start somewhere, right? And maybe next time will be that time. So, all right, guys. I think I am going to say goodbye to everybody. My stomach is growling like crazy right now, and I need to go get some food for everybody. So, thank you so much for joining me. Short notice on this video today, but I promise that I do have a video that's ready to drop, but it's a sponsored one, and so I needed approval from the sponsor first. It's not a very fun video, I will warn you. It has to do with the current events here in the United States and the Supreme Court decision that just came down. And it's a reaction video to somebody else, an American who's living in Germany. So be prepared for that. But I promise the next one is going to be more. I'm going to start putting together our trip. And I took my drone, so I have a few shots of my wife's hometown from aerial view. But that'll be the next one. So thanks, everybody, for stopping by. And I really appreciate all your support and the amount of interaction I get with everybody. It really, truly amazes me that this is where I am now. I can't believe the amount of friends and support that I've gotten through this channel. So I super appreciate it, and I will I'll catch you guys in the next video. So until then, ciao. Tschüss. That's